Hello everyone and welcome back to Be the Whole You. My name is Gulveg. Okay, so today we have a full moon in Aquarius. Depending on where in the world you are residing at this time, it might fall on either August 11th or 12th. This full moon is in Aquarius and it is pulling from the Lion's Gate that has just ended on August 8th. If you're not familiar with what Lion's Gate is, it's when our spiritual sun, the star Sirius, is aligned with our sun that rules our solar system. And so when these two stars align, it's said that it is a doorway, a portal that opens up heightened consciousness, and also can usher in a lot of new beginnings as well as needed endings. So this last Lion's Gate, I've just noticed in my own personal life that a lot of folks are having a lot of intense experiences. So there's a lot of shift, a lot of changes, and having to even say goodbye to either situations, people, loved ones within that time. So there's a lot of energy here in this particular full moon, and I am really excited to see what the tarot might be able to uncover in addition to some of the astrological information that we're going to be pulling from here in a second. So let's take a look. All right, so please join me in setting an intention to get clear guidance on how we might be able to leverage this full moon in Aquarius to serve our best and highest good. So even if you're watching this in a recording, I still feel that because energy doesn't know time or space, that it still makes a difference. So set the intention, if nothing else, that the message that you personally leave with today, whatever pieces are most important to you, are the things that you'll receive. Okay. How might we leverage this full moon in Aquarius for our best and highest good? There's a lot of cards coming out, so evidently they're being very chatty. Oh, and for those of you who regularly check in with these videos, you might notice that I am using a different card deck today. I was gifted this beautiful deck called Suc de Tarot by Lisa Robertson, and the artwork is by Joff Tufts. It's very dreamy, and I thought that that was appropriate because Neptune is in retrograde. And I'm going to get into that in a second, because what I'm seeing is like that is actually causing a lot of some of the self-doubt and stuff that I'm seeing going on as kind of a pattern for folks. Okay, so the cards. We first have Nine of Swords. Nine of Swords is a card about boundaries. It's about determination and will. And then we also have the Nine of Pentacles. The Nine of Pentacles, we have a woman who's sitting in a throne. She's petting a bunny rabbit, and there's these individuals holding these pentacles that create a canopy over her. So the Nine of Pentacles is about going and getting what it is that you want, like literally it's like the law of attraction. So sending your spirit to go hunt down what it is that your heart truly desires. And the best way to use that card, or the energy of that card, is not with just, temporary, almost like ego-based desires, but the big stuff, the stuff that really sets your soul alight. And then we have the Queen of Wands, and I think that this is tying into that theme. The Queen of Wands is not just the master of her own energy, and she's aware of how to leverage her courage and her charisma. She's a very independent kind of energy who also can master her own shadow. So the Queen of Wands, she has a good relationship with her shadow. She doesn't keep it locked up or locked away, but it doesn't rule the roost either. So she loves it, almost like a guardian would love its pet or fur baby, where if the dog is leading you, so to speak, in this analogy, then we all know what kind of chaos can ensue, and we could even get hurt. But if we are the one that's leading the fur baby, the pet, then people stay safe, and there is a mutual respect and even nurturing between the two. That's the Queen of Wands energy, is that we're not allowing our shadows to have this ninja-like effect on our lives. We're the ones that are leading it with compassion and care. And then we have the Judgment card reversed. This card comes up when there is a need to hear a call that we are having a hard time receiving. And typically speaking, what's coming to me around that is that this might be due to self-doubt, doubting our own intuition. Perhaps there might be even some external factors that are causing us to feel insecure or not quite safe with our surroundings. And I think we're going to pull some clarity card around that in a second. The next two cards, we have the next card that comes up, which is Two of Wands. And the Two of Wands comes up as we are planning or preparing for a journey. So right now, at this present moment, it may not necessarily be time to shove off and to, set our ship sail towards a new horizon, but we're planning. We are strategizing. We're gathering information. We're packing our bags, so to speak, in preparation for whatever the new beginning is. Because right now, with the Ten of Cups reversed, the Ten of Cups reversed comes up when we're not quite satisfied with the present scenario. Whatever current situation or challenges that we are facing, now is the time where we're starting to gestate and create strategies and gather information that will help us make a change, because Aquarius is all about change. The full Aquarian energy is about revolution. It's about a new way of thinking. It's about new perspectives. And it's about change because it's ruled by Uranus, and Uranus is the planet of change and revolution. So a lot of times this information isn't, and this energy, sometimes it isn't quite comfortable, but it is freeing. So Aquarius comes in and says, don't worry about institutions or the status quo or any of those kind of structures, because these structures, they're changing. And it's okay if you step out of the confines of whatever structures feel like have been now no longer supporting you. If they're starting to feel like cages and they're starting to feel more restrictive than having a limitation that actually supports a container for creativity, then it's time to let those structures crumble. It's time to release that. And one of the things with the Nine of Swords that came up, the very first card, is this is a deck that's based on circus themes, obviously. So here we have some performers, and she is hanging by her feet while she is grabbing onto another performer over a pit of swords. So also the thing that came around this was boundaries, but also flexibility. And so it can be really easy to get into a mentality of my way or the highway, especially when we are trying to assert our independence. And it doesn't necessarily have to be an all or nothing. So let's pull some cards around Judgment. The Judgment reversed. Clarity, please, on the nature of how to hear this call. Okay, The very first card that comes up is Death Reversed. And this particular artwork here has a magician who has created a vanishing act, and then there are these spirits coming out of his, I'm assuming it's his spirit, that's coming out of the top hat. He is no longer here in physical incarnation. When it's reversed, the Death card is speaking to a need to let something go. So the not hearing the call of whatever it is that we're supposed to be moving towards might very well be because our hearts are still, or our minds are still grabbing on to what was. Usually that's due to a feeling of there was some sort of security or safety. Even if we know it's unhealthy, it's what we knew. So if what comes next is a little uncertain, a little shaky, then it can feel very scary to let that go. The other piece here that I'm seeing is grief. That part of some of this is just honoring the grieving process. When we think of grief, we usually think of big loss, right? We think of like the loss of a loved one, but we can grieve even when we are letting go of something that we know doesn't really serve us, something that we're actually glad is ending. So for example, like we may have an unfulfilling job that we know isn't really healthy, but perhaps it provided a particular income that really gave us a sense of safety and security. And so we might be kind of stepping away from that. Or that we might have had some like-minded individuals that we worked with. There might be some folks that we're going to really miss seeing every day. So even in times in which the shift is good and is really positive, there can be elements of grief that are still need to be honored. So some of this is just kind of maneuvering through the depths of grief. And I get that because we have the Ten of Pentacles, which is reversed. And typically this is about like financial resources, and it usually is like abundance and such. When it's reversed, it means that there is we're letting go of something. We're letting go of a particular resource. So this is going to feel very much like it affects our physical world. It may not necessarily have to do with money. It could have to do with family dynamics. It could be how we manage our time. There are shifts and changes that are happening that there's an element of discomfort there, but in the end, it's actually going to be a-okay. Because we have the Three of Wands that comes up. And the Three of Wands is about mastering one's own energy. In this card, we have actually an individual who is standing on a platform watching these fire spinners underneath. And he's a performer too, but he's delegated. He's delegated some of the responsibilities over the show, the circus, to some other performers. And then we have our last card here, which is the Four of Swords. And the Four of Swords is reversed. And this is reiterating that even if we're feeling an itchiness to just make the change already and just to move ahead, if there are some things that need to be addressed first, that's okay. The Four of Swords, when it's reversed, it means that we have not yet departed from what was. That we're still in the process, just like we mentioned before in the reading, that we are packing our bags, we're in preparation. And that kind of brings us to some of the other astrology stuff that that I wanted to talk about. Neptune is in retrograde, and it's been in retrograde since June 28th, and it will continue to be in retrograde until December 3rd. And what I've seen that in this, this summer where the Neptune is in retrograde, there is a lot of second guessing ourselves. And there is a lot of, just kind of, enhanced dreams too, something that Neptune retrograde creates. And I know that my dreams have become very actually just more dreams and become very, very vivid. And so you might have more experiences with astral travel and dreaming and things. So during this time, the caveat of that though is that even though there's more intuitive information coming through, we may be second guessing it and or having a lot of self-doubt around it. And so this time right now, what I'm seeing is a time to really address anything that is keeping us from trusting ourselves. Aquarius is very much about the sovereign self. That energy is, it is one that is calling to people to free themselves of just kind of going with the status quo, you know, being good little neighbors that follow all of society's structures, you know, all of the things. It's about honoring who you want to step into, who you want to be, and it's about opening up a new level of creativity and perhaps even taking a new perspective of what it is that makes you feel safe, that makes you feel happy, that gives you joy. This is a really good time to go within and ask ourselves those existential questions of, why am I here? And how can I step into that in a more aligned way? We also have Saturn, which is also in retrograde at 22 degrees in Aquarius. So this is conjunct with the full moon in Aquarius. So this just kind of reiterates like a change in the establishment or a change in how we relate to the quote-unquote establishment. And this also may give us some clarity on if there was ever any situations or decisions that we've made, and this might be decisions that we made as a child, or it could be decisions that we have recently made where we've kind of sold a part of ourselves out. So this would fall in line of like fitting in or fear of being bullied or being judged. If there's any way in which we have compromised our authenticity, this would be a time to bring that back. It would be it's a great time to reestablish a relationship with ourselves. And this doesn't mean that we have to go out of our way to be different, and it doesn't mean that we have to, you know, just be rebels for rebel's sake. But if there are things in our lives in which we are showing up in a way that doesn't feel good, then that's a ding, ding, ding that we need to pay attention to. And so this might mean that we have to maneuver through like what are boundaries for us? What are the non-negotiables, and where can I be flexible? We also have the sun in Leo, of course, which is at 19 degrees as well. They're both at polar opposite ends. And the sun is about and Leo is about our persona. So there's big shifts and changes that are happening with how we see ourselves, with our identity. And there might be some egoic deaths of letting go, shedding a particular way that we thought of ourselves or a particular way that we showed up, either at work or in our family, or a way that we communicated that just doesn't feel right anymore. And there might be a bit of grief in letting that go as we attain new skill sets and new habits and new belief systems. Let's see, is there anything else here? And that's also the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands is about re-embracing yourself and loving all of who you are and not letting anyone shame you. Okay, anything else here? So that is pretty much the gist of what it is that I have here. Jupiter and Chiron still in retrograde. They're also conjunct. And so Chiron is the wounded healer. And so this is also a lot about self-healing. So, you know, it just kind of comes back to know thyself, love thyself, and then we can step into our most authentic version of ourselves. We get to be ourselves fully and wholly. So this should be a good one. If you've been looking for change, now's the time. Now it's coming. It may not be arrived yet today, but this full moon is setting the stage for those changes. Change is a coming. So Thank you all so much for joining me here for this full moon tarot reading. I look forward to seeing you back here in a couple weeks. If you haven't already checked out the podcast for these last couple weeks, there is a podcast on the misunderstood goddess Kali. So if you've ever been told that you don't have a right to feel a particular way, or you have struggled with boundaries, it's a great episode to take a look at. And then we also have an episode on are we living in a matrix, and also exploring what is the matrix. So check it out. All right, I'll see you guys back here in a couple weeks when we will take a look at the new moon. Take care of yourselves all, and I'll see you soon.